Listen to the more.
Yeah, they are. Listen to the painted man. They're trying to break our balls over here, bro. So first it was January 6th, and then it was aliens. Oh, we could say Trump, but aliens does sound
Yeah, we're gonna go with
a little
alien.
bit better.
We're gonna go with
Yeah,
alien.
we're gonna go with aliens. Aliens sounds better on this one. So I
And it's
Sounds
think,
a
more
lot cooler.
prominent too.
yeah, I think we're back up. Yeah, we back up. It's official. So I just need to grab the
Hit
grab
those
the.
likes, fellas. Hit those
The
likes.
red media is upset I'm giving away the secrets of what the
Wait,
shit
well,
really
we
means and
could.
how it works.
Yeah, this is race trader talk. This is race trader talk. But no, but I do
Could you
think
imagine the one Jew that tells that wants to give all the information, wants Kanye to be president? That's how you know he's a good one.
yeah, if you want Kanye to be president, you different.
You're the good one.
Man. So I'm just excited. Honestly, I got these news reports I want to play. I just need to drop the chat thing in here real quick.
We're back. We're back. We're back.
Yeah, this
I don't
shit's
even know what I'm allowed to say on YouTube anymore. Like
Well,
what?
speak. It's freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. Say anything. You want to talk about shaved
YouTube.
assholes? Let's go.
Yeah, that was
That's
like
very good, bro.
it just kind of popped out the other day.
Yeah, he freestyled that shit.
But
It was great.
but it made
We ran
sense
with
though. It made sense because they are
We instantly connected.
funny.
We were like, yeah, it is kind of fucking YouTube.
yeah, they on some other shit right now, man. This is bugged out. Can we play the news reports? The news
Fair
reports,
use. Fair
fair
use,
use
devils.
news reports. The news reports were pretty interesting. I thought people would get a kick out of this. I've never found one of these on my own before. Let me actually, yeah, I think you should be able to. Oh, let me make sure you can hear everything.
A new government report is raising eyebrows across the country, especially among anyone interested in extraterrestrials. Physicist and Harvard professor Avi Loeb says there's a possibility humans are not the only civilization in the universe. Loeb teamed up with the Pentagon office that investigates unidentified aerial phenomenon, and they came up with this draft report that says it's possible alien ships have already visited our solar system. Specifically, Loeb thinks the first interstellar object spotted passing through our solar system in 2017 could be an extraterrestrial
Hey, Don,
mothership.
what do you think
He says it did
that
not
thing in
have
her
the
hand says?
characteristics you'd find
Nothing.
in meteors or other known objects.
They're looking
He
at
says
your
the
boobs.
mothership could have released smaller ships or
Sweet
probes to
tits.
She's on
study our solar
Fashion
system.
Nova. She's on Fashion Nova.
Definitely on
Yeah,
Fashion Nova.
she's shopping. She's definitely shopping. Now check this out. Now, if you remember, okay, let's just
Oh,
go
hello,
back.
brother.
Let's just go back to the beginning, just to make sure we're hearing this correctly here.
A new government report is raising eyebrows across the country, especially among anyone interested in extraterrestrials.
Okay, this is a whole nother state, whole nother network.
Can we name that state?
Where is this? This is KWKT Fox Central Texas.
Central Texas.
Check this out.
A new government report is raising eyebrows across the country, especially among
Little
anyone
sassy.
interested in extraterrestrials. Our Alexandra Lemon has the story.
You see this? Like how?
Physicist and Harvard professor Avi Loeb says there's a possibility humans aren't the only civilization in the universe.
Did you see that? Did you catch that?
Yeah, same lead in.
The whole thing. This part too. She's saying the exact same thing the other person said, word for word.
There's a possibility humans aren't the
Abraham
only
Avi
civilization
Loeb.
in
What
the
does
Can we
that
just
mean?
go back? Can
What
we
does
just
that
go
mean?
back?
What is Abraham Avi Loeb? What is that? That's
Avi, that's like that's his
No,
just-
nickname. He used to get busy in the streets.
It's a
That's
street name.
that
When he
interests
was
me the
moving
most.
away.
That's Yakub's uncle.
But that's what I'm saying. Is it a
He's the
coincidence?
one telling you about the alien.
Right,
Oh,
the
see,
one,
yeah.
the ones managing the information about what you. I'm just.
It's
Maybe it's a coincidence.
Tell the Goyim it's a mothership.
We know what it is.
Tell the Goyim it's a
Interdimensional
mothership.
pedophiles.
What is
They're
it?
here. They're here for their California
It's like,
Twinkies.
nah, it's a fucking Meshuggah and a rock. Just tell him it's a mothership. Fuck it. They just fucking
Well, that was a
wrestle about
great.
that
That was
shit.
a great
It's
Alex
filthy
Jones,
shit.
by the way. That was a great Alex Jones, by the way.
And then they'll sell all their stocks, and we can buy them for free if they think it's the mothership, maybe.
Yeah, if they think it's all over, we already turned them off crypto. The economy is
They're
crashing.
gonna cash out.
They're gonna
Yeah.
cash out, and then we'll just buy it all in the fire sale, bro. and then we'll
Oh,
get rich
yeah.
again. Like, and then everything goes back to normal.
It's clockwork. We've been telling this story for years.
Man, like I said, I don't really trust the news stations. It makes me think more about what would be. I could be wrong, but it just
I
makes me
definitely don't
think
trust that
more.
guy telling me the news. He
Oh
looks
no,
like he
not
doesn't
at
want to
all,
be there.
not at all. I feel like he's like one of those characters from Men in Black, where there's like tiny aliens inside his head, just driving his
For
body.
real? Like there's something wrong with it.
Yeah, something ain't right. But I think I'm just thinking about what would be the benefit to them saying something that far out away from what the accepted narrative is. So the
Political
government,
season.
they've never said, okay, yeah, we definitely have had contacts with aliens before. This is when it was. It was during Nixon. They helped us with this thing. Like, this has never been a conversation that's been had. A lot of people, rightfully so, speculate that some things have happened in the past, whether it was from, ancient
have you ever heard
civilizations.
they admit they have off-world vehicles? Have you seen that one that came out on? It was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I remember
This
that.
stuff comes out and nobody pays attention. They drop shit like this all the time. Nobody's paying attention to this. Nobody cares.
Right.
No,
It's just
you're
not
right,
enough.
but
It's
also,
not enough there.
But these are also the people like we talked about with COINTELPRO. Like, they do disseminate disinformation on purpose. So that's one of the reasons too, where it's like I gotta kind of look at it as
Objectively.
A new
I
government
don't.
report.
My bad. Go ahead.
You think it's a 3-card Monty where they're just trying to distract us from what
Could be a 5-card Monty.
I have
distraction.
no idea, but I know, like, for instance, when we were going to invade Iraq, right? They brought in that girl. She was like, they were taking babies out of incubators. She basically gave the Jussie Smollett story of the early 90s. It was just like they were super sadistic. Like, what did they do? They killed you? They didn't just kill the villagers. The soldiers came in. This is how evil they are. They broke into the hospital. They found the babies in incubators, and they just started throwing them on the floor. Like, you're describing the most we have to go in there and bomb them now. And then after we bombed them and it was all over, it was like, yeah, she was an actor. It was kind of a whole bunch of bullshit. But it got us to move, right? We got in there and we got the oil and shit, right? So there's a pattern here of giving information, false information, justifying things, disinformation, whatever, for whatever means, and we don't always know why. But I know that there's a history of they're gonna vote on some bill or fundamentally change something. Crazy stories come out. Some other shit is going on where the real money is getting moved and the real people that are fucking shit over are kind of in the limelight a little bit. Like, all right, let's put out some other shit. So that's why I'm skeptical. Do I think for real, long term, there's definitely interdimensional beings and powers and concepts beyond just what we experience in this 3 dimensions? Absolutely. I'm absolutely certain of it. I do think there's a bit of arrogance to think, no, we're all there is and this is just how it is and we figured it all out. I do think there's more to it. But I wouldn't put it past them. It's not beneath them to, just like they did with our disdain for racism. However we feel and whatever we think and whatever we hold sacred, they'll use that shit against us to get our attention or to get our behavior to change. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, these are the same motherfuckers that been telling me bullshit for the last, I've been watching them for 8 years. Just say ridiculous shit. I don't know if I trust what they're saying. I don't know. But it could be legit. I don't know.
I get it. Yeah. I don't know, man.
And like it's just a matter of how information, like you said, how information is spread out. It's like if they just come out tomorrow and say, okay, we just got footage of a unicorn fighting a dragon. And we're like, oh wait, so there's unicorns and dragons? Like, how long have y'all known that there were unicorns and dragons? Nobody ever. So when
How
they
did
jump
you even
out,
name this thing?
when you say there's a mothership, that means you've already presupposed the fact that there are aliens. Their civilization is big enough to where they need aircraft carriers. It's not just a regular ship; it's a mothership, and it's going to send probes down. Like, wait, so you've skipped over so much shit. The average brain.
But isn't that how they get down though? Isn't that how it happens? You know, it's rare that they're like transparent until they can't
Yeah, till they
hide it
absolutely
Yeah.
have to be.
That
Yeah.
happens.
because the
Yeah.
James Webb, a big thing that happened is the James Webb telescope. Like that's been up there for about maybe a year now, and it's only going to get crazier and crazier. I'm sure they're already seeing things with that thing. Like it sees 100 times better than the Hubble. Like it fixed the redshift problem. I just feel like, I honestly, man, I've been saying since 2018 that I think there's going to be a major disclosure. And I don't go to the conferences. I don't seek the content out. I'm not on it like that. I'm not one of those people. But I believe by next year, I've been saying since 2018, 2024, we're going to have like major disclosure. And since 2017, it's just been, okay, yeah, here's some videos like Pentagon. That was when the Pentagon first admitted, we don't know what these are. We have no idea what these are. They're doing things in the air that don't make any sense. They're going all over. 5 years, 6 years removed. That's a good chunk of time. They're like, hey, think there's like a big ship out there that's sending these. Because if you remember over the past couple of weeks, they've shot down 5 unidentified things. And when they were asked, they go, nah, they're not aliens. Well, what are they? All right, next question.
Chinese
Like,
spy balloons.
Yeah, well, that was the only one they admitted was a Chinese spy balloon. But they shot down like 5, and everyone's like, it's aliens, aliens. And they did a press conference. They're like, it's not aliens. All right, next question. They won't say what it is though.
So what? So
Jeffrey
the
Dahmer.
story.
Was it a Cessna? You know what I mean? What was it?
So the story so far is that there's a dragon fighting a unicorn, and Donald Trump paid them to stay quiet about sexual favors. That's where we're
that's
at.
pretty
in the
accurate.
News story. Okay.
Yeah, pretty
All right,
accurate.
just want to make sure I'm up to speed.
Yeah, and one of those things.
The name of the mothership is Stormy Daniels.
If that's carved on the side of that liquid metallic substance that it's coated in, it just says the Stormy Daniels. They name it just like we name our ships down here.
Hey, Len, like, take us to your favorite porn star. That's who we want to meet. We want to meet your favorite OnlyFans girl.
Oh, dude, the interdimensional beings. They are. Alex Jones is right. There are interdimensional pedophiles, but they're women. They're women. They're women. They're just here like, we're here for the dicks. We're here for the tiny, tiny underage dicks. That's what we're here
That
for.
would explain a lot.
Daniels.
That actually would. It make more sense than it should. It really would. It really
And that's
would.
what they were doing on Epstein Island. They were getting small boys to have sex with the interstellar women, the porn star aliens that rule over us.
It would make
And they had to
sense.
hide on an island.
It would kind of prove that we're being ruled by aliens, because all of the teachers, the women teachers who have sex with underage boys, barely ever go to jail, because our alien overlords are
The whole
sympathetic.
system is based on that.
That explains. I'm just saying, it explains a lot. Everything's like, oh, that makes sense now. It all makes sense.
Yeah, these red pill guys are gonna start getting punished if the aliens are females. Oh boy, is that what they meant by the future is female? Is that what that was?
Ooh, yeah, they were trying to get it seeded out there
Wow.
so people get prepared.
That might get dangerous, bro. That might be
Incels
more
are
dangerous
screaming.
than if the aliens are a bunch of like space colonizing warrior gladiators. If they're just a bunch of
Humanoid women.
yeah, highly advanced humanoid women, it's like, oh, we are fucked. We are screwed royally. Shit's about to get real. But either way, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see if anybody talks about this. If some actual factual shit starts to roll out, I'd definitely be interested. I wouldn't just ignore it. But I don't know.
Just wait
man.
for
I've
the
seen enough.
unobtainium. Then you'll know.
I've just seen enough of the world to not get excited yet. Maybe that's what it is.
For sure, but I definitely want to plant a flag right now that let's revisit this in a year. Let's have an episode in a year from now and talk about how much more has come out. I guarantee you a lot more is happening by next year. I'm of the ilk that I really think we're gonna see something of material, whether that's some, and like with Lazar, like that element in the periodic table. Now
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but like there's gonna be a lot more of that, bro. It's just gonna, like, to think, the hubris to think that this anthill we live on knows anything about what's going on above it is kind of funny.
Oh yeah,
It's really
absolutely.
funny. It's like
Absolutely.
ants, like being, hey, hey guys, have you heard of the law of vibration? They're not thinking about that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm excited for it to pierce this dimension. Like you were saying, Yakub, like, our dimension is just kind of a shadow of the higher dimensions. So I think that
Absolutely.
shadow is going to be less and less less and less shadowy as we elevate. We're going to start to understand things better. I mean, it's everywhere. I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but everywhere you look, people are talking about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Not just alien mothership, just the different understanding of how vibration and frequency and all that stuff that was woo 5 years ago is like pretty relevant right now. And it's only going to get more and more and more and more like that. So it's definitely exciting. I'm ready.
Yeah, same here. I'd love to see some real tangible shit take place, so we could kind of shift our
Many
consciousness.
tangibles.
Yeah, because that's
Well,
that's what it's going to
they can't
take.
break our free will. You know, that's what it says in the law of one. The reason they don't just descend out of the sky is because it would alter our free will. We would start to make choices. If they break it, they break our simulation. That's like against the rules. That's what it says in the law of one, and why they can't just. And if you pay attention, there's been breadcrumbs, bro. They've been dropping hints for 75
They're pretty nice
years.
guys, man. As long as they let me keep smoking weed, I'll fuck with
They're
them.
trying to train the ants. They're trying to train the ants. They're dropping little sugar cubes and breadcrumbs. Like, if y'all learn how to carry this shit the right way, you might learn a thing or two.
Exactly. That's totally what it is.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's something on the up and up. It's not like, all right, now everybody just prepare your anus. We're here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because that's kind of what humans have been doing on the planet. Just, they build a boat, and when they land on somebody else's shore, they say, prepare your anus. So hopefully, spread them and grease them. We're coming in, boys. And hopefully that's not what they're coming with from fifth dimension or 30 billion light years away. I heard it was some juicy cheeks down here.
My favorite thing, man, I would like to see, honestly, is that you ever seen Arrival? I don't know if you guys have seen Arrival, but imagine one of those ships shows up and we try to shoot it and the missile just disappears. That's the type of thing where when our weapons are kind of relegated to being totally useless, that's when the big conversations would happen. Like, we can't do anything to this thing, no matter how hard we try. They're just throwing it in some junk dimension and just landing in the sand in some other reality and blowing up. I think that would change. It's not so exciting about there being aliens. I'm excited that humans might even slightly unify just a little bit. I think that could just.
When there's a threat, we always unify, but we just forget after a few generations.
But a threat
we can't do anything. It's over.
A threat we can't do anything to that isn't trying to hurt us. Then it's like we have to wrestle with why we always see everything as a threat.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's coded into the metaphysics of we fucked ideology. Is that it's going to have to take something so big, so beyond our control, almost beyond our perception, to give humans a reason.
And it would have to last forever.
Start to change. It's going to have to establish a whole new way of being. Because if you remove that thing, they're just going to go back to hitting each other in the head with sticks. So we have to change on a cellular level. Something has to really shift. And I don't know what that would be. Maybe it would be some fucking, some alien announcements or something like that. We already talked about this. We talked about the alien brain slug.
The cult of dangerous gentlemen, where we believe deeply in the human spirit.
Yeah. Yeah,
you're like, we're just gonna be hitting each other with sticks.
But that's what we've done most efficiently for our whole time on the planet, and that's what we seem to really like doing, is hitting each other in the head with sticks. And you can trickle that down into a lot of human behaviors. The fuck you, hooray for me, like that's what we do best. And even now with the population, like you said, what if it's 51% of the population who is more susceptible to these higher ideologies and spiritual systems and shit like that? Even now, if you really look at it, like we talked about this before, the people who are positioning themselves as gurus and yogis are fucking raping people in their yoga studios. The people who are positioning themselves as channelers of the ascended masters are racist. All of the ascended masters are Aryans with blonde hair and blue eyes. Like, they're bringing all of the shit that they haven't shed into this new spiritual thing. It's not like people are just doing yoga and becoming enlightened. They're doing yoga and they're talking shit about whose yoga pants are too cheap. Mine are Lululemon. Those are fucking from Walmart. So it's not like it's really rooting into the human spirit. They're just kind of going through the motions. And it might take a few generations of going through the motions before they really start to let it sink in. Because I think even if you are just doing that, at least you're doing yoga. Like I see the power in it, and I see the premise that people can use this to become something different. But as of right now, they're just being the same old humans they've ever been. You
But
know,
can
they're
we
just
agree,
doing it
like
in a different set of rules.
like the darkness, the shadowy part of being a human, like that's what Hermeticism and these deep spiritual lessons teach, is that the destruction and chaos is as beautiful as the light. And where we get mistaken is thinking that they're not connected. You know what I'm saying? There isn't a world, in my opinion, where there isn't death, where there isn't lying and all of that. It's like the acceptance. That's like the whole process of integrating your shadow. You don't get rid of it. There's no getting rid of your shadow. Good luck with that. Like, go outside and when the sun's pointed at you, try to run from your shadow. It's fucking comical, right? It's accepting that it's there and that it's part of being a human. You know what I'm saying? Like the villain, what good is a story without a villain? Like, it's the duality of our dimension. It's the only way we learn. So, like, yes, do we need to ascend the separation anxiety? Of course we do. But the idea that in the third dimension there's not going to be conflict is where I think most suffering lives in the first place. You know what I mean? Like, of course, yogis, bro. Like, yo, Zen masters go off and kill people. Like, it doesn't make them not a Zen master. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It depends on what the parameters of that definition is. If Zen master doesn't include murder, then,
well,
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
There's different intelligences, right? There's different levels of awareness. So there could be a master teacher, spiritual teacher, who's deficient in decency. Man, dude, have you ever met a real master, whether it's a martial artist or a master camera person? They're usually wildly huge assholes, you know? But that doesn't make their wisdom and understanding and knowledge less important. That's like as much as I think Cosby is a piece of shit for what he did, still one of the most brilliant comedic minds that ever lived. They're not mutually exclusive. That's the complexity of being a human. Yeah, it's a spectrum, right?
No, yeah, I think that I was gonna say, so this is just, I don't think that, this is what I think. I think that humans are not in charge. Humans are an emanation, or are vibrating the residual emanation from something else. You can call it some ancient alien shit. You can call it some Enochian, fallen angel type shit. But there's definitely, hey, humans, we're gonna take you. If it was Chrono Trigger, it would be Lavos. It's some shit from out of the sky that changed from apes to humans, right? Here's this genetic material, these meat suits. Let's inject it with the God consciousness and see what happens. Let's alert them. So I do think that there's a realm that where shit doesn't decay, where you don't gotta write shit down, right? So what we're doing is, so when we write shit down, it's a very primitive way of capturing the God consciousness. But once you translate it from where you're pulling it from to the page, it's something gets lost. But you're kind of seeing it, but you're not seeing the fullness of it. So I do think we're not in a realm where we're seeing the fullness of things, and we're trapped in these meat suits, and we are falling apart. So we look at things differently because out of necessity, we're desperate. We're desperate. We don't want to die. We don't want to starve. And the demands of this third dimension make us susceptible to being ruled over and coerced. And I think those people got that model from whatever perennial tradition you want to attach to, or however you want to explain the story. So I think if there's some shit showing up, I don't think it's some good shit. I think it's like, yo, when we came here last time, y'all were basically trying to rape angels and doing some wild shit. And we taught you how to make metal and coins, and we taught you how to build cities. Far away. And we were like, we'll let them run with it. We'll be back and see how y'all are doing. And we see that y'all ain't learned. Y'all have taken this Yahweh tribal model, and y'all have really built this shit up to something magnificent. Like in that story where the devil takes Jesus to the top of the mountain and says, look at all the kingdoms of the world. Ask of me and I'll give you any one of them because they're mine to give. Like, I don't think any country on earth, including America, is God's idea, is the true. I think the real kingdom is the kingdom within, right? But because human beings aren't ready for that, there's cruel taskmasters that keep us in order, whether they're systems, whether they're governors. or whether they're aliens or interdimensional female teacher rapists that gave us these sophisticated tools of society in the first place. Like I think there's something to that. So I just think they're coming back to be like, look, this is our shit. And the people in charge are like, okay, how the fuck do we break it to everybody that we've never really been in charge? Like, we've gotten the time to rule and be in charge of shit because we made this agreement and we're part of this paradigm or this system or this model and this structure. But really, it was gifted to us. It's not ours, but we've been running around arrogantly pretending that it's ours, and the people that really handed it out, which, you know, may be some version of us, right, in some other, you know, existence or whatever.
It's got to be. We're in the
they're
image
showing
of it.
back up. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
let us make
I
man in
agree.
our image. I don't think that's the original emanation. I think that's the emanation right behind us who are like, yo, let's do our own version of that shit. And the world is the result of that experiment gone bad. Like, let's inject our way of doing things. And so the game is like, you got to get away from this concept of ruling. Like, this shit is bad for your soul. Power is bad for your soul.
I don't think it's.
but
bad
it's all
in the
that we
sense,
know.
because we have to experience it to know it's bad. So I don't think it's that awful. In a sense,
it's the two things intertwining. It's just like there's nothing wrong with baking soda or vinegar, but when you put them together, the reaction that happens, you just got to be prepared for that shit. You got to know what it is because it can screw you over in the long run. They're fine alone, but when you mix those two things, it's like influence. There's nothing wrong with the concept of influence, but you know what happens when you mix the average human brain with power and influence. You get corruption
But what about
more
the
often than
concept
not.
of power? When has power ever been used over other people for anything noble?
Right.
But it's we can't imagine a world without power. That's why the teachings of Jesus are so contrary to the world's model. Like, nah, don't force anybody. Like, don't fight back. Just surrender. If everybody surrenders, there's no longer any fight. If
It's
you
not
don't
even
pick
an
up your
issue.
arms- right. If you don't
need water. Here's water. You need juice.
Right.
You need oranges. Why are we fighting? You see my trees lush. You're upset that you don't have a lush tree. Well, maybe because your soil's bad and my soil's good. I'm sorry, but here, let's trade.
But if I'm giving you a coin with my face on it and saying, look, if you don't go kill these people, you're not going to get any of this shit. Again, it's a very clever system to make people powerful and harness human energy in a way that would be impossible if we didn't have language and we didn't have these concepts that separate us from the animals, that
Different
make us
sheep
into something
herders.
different.
Sheep herders. Yo,
That's what power is. It's just a sheep, a man a sheep.
It
herder.
is.
So people who can herd the sheep.
Well, people
That's
who can
power.
do anything. Just the ability to
Yeah.
act.
It's
The
not the
ability
fact
to
that you
act.
could just murder 10,000 people. No, it's the fact that you made people murder 10,000 people, or however. That's unfortunate, but that's
It's interesting, Yakub. I was saying this to Don the other day that I do think whoever's coming back, it is going to be, the Atlanteans, or whoever, and they're going to be like, oh, you guys are finally looking at the pyramids objectively. Like, because for the first time in history, we're actually studying the pyramids. Like, all that Egyptology, all that bullshit is on its way out. Like, this 6,000 years is fucking nonsense.
they finally figured out the Egyptians were full of shit.
It's fucking, well, the Egyptians didn't build it. Yeah, exactly.
Right, they inherited it.
Hell no. And
Y'all
all
took
their
10,000 years
iconography.
to realize this.
Exactly. But also inside of it is the craziest mathematical shit. Like, I don't know if you guys have looked, I won't get in detail, but every mathematical constant, all the laws of physics are in there. It's fucking wild in there. And I think it's a blueprint. I also think it was functional. Like, I don't know exactly what it did, if it's like a, where you go to switch your avatars out or some shit like that. But I think also, like, we're inside of what's called a precession, right? Every 27,000 years, the planet goes through some shit, and the last time it happened, whether it was like the Younger Dryas or whatever, I do think we've started over a few times.
Yeah.
I really do.
Absolutely.
And I think we're about to.
What's the desert over Africa? It used to be lush green land.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It used to be.
It was
yeah.
forest in
I think
Antarctica, the whole shit.
They're gonna come back and be like, the cell phones aren't gonna cut it. You need to build some sort of pyramid, because that kind of thing that lasts. Our culture hasn't done that. We don't really have that. We're building we're building shitty edifices that don't really matter. And if we're going to leave a blueprint back so our next ancestors that come in however many years have something to study, they're like, yo, you guys got a couple thousand years left before, you know, at year 25,000 inside of this Yuga age, we're going to start over. So quit fucking around. Like, quit
So we have
fucking
everything
around.
on our iPhone.
Exactly.
Don't worry, it'll be left.
Yeah.
And by the way, to get these iPhones, we gotta really dig some shit out of the earth. It's really complicated. No
The cobalt
stones.
thing. Crazy.
Right. All of this shit, and it's fueled by, again, servitude to the system. The concept of money. Well, it has to be profitable. Yeah, but it's profitable, but it's not a good idea.
It was
It
so
doesn't-
wasteful. Like we dig and
Right.
dig for all this cobalt, and then
And then we buy
for-
new
for the-
ones, and then
for
we're
the
like,
new
fuck it, we'll
phone,
get another one.
and we throw the other phone out. That you're like, oh,
It's
like,
a perfect system. You know how much waste is coded into a lot of these things. Like, people intend for you to waste the shit. Like, that works out so well for so many different companies. And I started to realize it because sometimes we know when we sit down and watch YouTube or something, we might just watch crafts. Somebody doing woodworking or pouring some type of resin thing to make some, you know, some cool shit. We're artists, so we get creative ideas from watching that. And I watched a guy, he was making like some kind of glow-in-the-dark little snow globe vibe out of a piece of wood and some resin. And he put the wood in the wood turning machine, and he started off with this big-ass log. And by the time he shaved it all down, it was like 75% of the log was on the ground. And then he poured the resin, and he started shaving all the resin down, and 70% of the resin was on the ground. And I was like, yo, imagine selling a product as a company where you're sure that the person who buys the product is going to waste 70% of it, and not like by mistake, like he spilled it. It's just going to get shaved off and thrown on the ground. That's a perfect situation for a corporation. Like, you're not even going to use it all. You're going to throw most of it on the ground, and you're not even going to be mad at it. You're going to use this phone for 1 year. Next year, we're going to make it a quarter of an inch bigger.
Right.
And
I
then
always laugh
and
when
put a
people-
new app,
when
and you're
people
going to
have,
throw
like,
the other one
memes
away.
of tricks iPhones can do, and it's like, y'all didn't know this anyways. Like,
No, because it doesn't matter. Because when
you
they show
didn't
you
take
the
your
new
time
one,
to learn the technology.
nope. I just bought it and I put it in my pocket because I have it.
But just think about if there was some sort of celestial accounting, and somebody showed up and was like, so, what are you doing? What are you making? And what are you making it for? What's the purpose of all of this? Oh, we're just doing this to make money, but it causes so much suffering. And what is money, by the way?
Could you imagine being a dildo manufacturer when they ask that question?
Just to explain it.
Like, yeah, I make rubber dicks.
Yeah.
Expand.
Well,
unpack
why
that for
aren't
me. Tell me
humans
more.
connecting and having intimacy with
Listen,
one another
they're
and creating
connecting
more
with
life?
this dildo,
Like,
bitch.
It's perfect. It's perfect. I'm
Well, I
telling you.
mean, corporate. Have you ever seen that comparison to a sociopath and a corporation? Like, they're essentially the same thing. Like,
Right,
if
yeah.
you look at how a corporation acts, it's how like murderers act. It's how people they've studied that don't have common decency and empathy. That's how they behave. You know,
Don't
and
have
these
time
are the
for it.
these are the systems that we're under, bro. You know, and it's like no wonder. And I've said this before, probably even on here, that like the crazy part about the corporate world and business is that the psychopathy that people exhibit, they're rewarded for it, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're a heroin addict or a cocaine or whatever, you're eventually going to implode for the most part. It's very rare you see a functioning heroin addict out riding a jet ski with his family or something, you know.
right, but if you do
like-
that as a corporation, you'll get a bailout, so you can keep at it. Like, we'll inject you
Right.
with capital to make sure you can keep being
Oh,
probation.
there's a professor who's a heroin addict. He's doing pretty good.
Yeah, but like
It's
but like
possible.
when you're addicted to power and you're addicted to money,
Sure.
Right.
you're rewarded. That psychopathy is rewarded. You're now like a very wealthy, powerful person. But that's to your point. Like that's by design. I don't think
Yeah.
that that's like a something that happened, by accident. And that's why when you talk about social media, they like to act like they didn't know this was going to happen
Right.
the way it went. No, yes, they did. Yes, they did. They
Yeah.
definitely did.
Yeah.
But-
But it's all
but-
designed that way for a purpose because they knew Of course, it doesn't take much. Like it's the same reason that McDonald's logo looks the way it look. It's the same reason that
Right, same color
the
scheme they use. Yep.
carpets in the casino are so busy and so ridiculous to look at because they don't want you looking down. They want you looking up. Like so, all of this how to influence humans through the psychology of the environment. This shit is, what is Edward Bernays? He knew what he was doing, and he was immediately rewarded. You know what? You want to sell more cigarettes? Get a bunch of beautiful women to walk around during the Thanksgiving Day parade and smoking cigarettes, and the rest will take care of itself.
If you want to sell it to kids, put a camel on it.
Yeah,
and it's not exclusive to corporations. It's the state too. Like think about it, and again, that's why it's called the beast. It's the system that humans put in between them and their behavior to make so that we don't notice how corrupt our soul is being. So if you're a CEO and you want to handle the oil spill by doing the right thing and taking care of the people that got cancer, you're going to lose a whole lot of money. Yeah. And if the investors come to you and the board of trustees say, listen, we're going to make a couple of payouts, we ain't cleaning shit, and guess what? We're going to be more financially solvent as a result. That's what you're going to do, right? What were the Nazis doing? I was just following orders. I was just doing my job. Right, so the CEO is like, "Look, I gotta kill these motherfuckers because it's more profitable for the company. I gotta take them off of here."
My boss wants these guys dead. I don't know why. He needs 100 of them dead. 100.
Right,
the gays, the blacks, the yellows, gotta kill them.
That's it. So the soldier has to do it because that's his job. The sheriff that shows up to throw you out of your house has to do it because that's his job. The CEO that makes the business, like you said, a sociopath, has to do it because otherwise they can get in trouble with the SEC if they're not making sure that the company is profitable. So there's all these incentives and pressures that make us do fucked up shit, but have these systems as intermediaries so we don't realize how fucked up it is, or we have something to appeal to. Maybe it's unethical, but it's not illegal, and that's how we justify it. Like, hey, listen, that same piece of paper that was written down so I could take your tree from you is the same piece of paper that says it's not wrong for me to show up with guns and take your tree. Look, it's written down on this paper. So when your concept of good and evil comes from service to these entities that are already inherently corrupt, yeah, all that's going to come out of it is sociopathic behavior, but we'll find a way to justify it and feel okay with it so we don't feel the poison that's happening to our soul as a result. And I think where we're at now is the culture has kind of reached its zenith, or technology has reached this high watermark, and we're looking around. It's like, hey, we're all fucking empty and depressed. We all feel bad about how all the fucking sausage is made. We're all conscious and we're all aware, and we're like, I like the technology of the iPhone. I like what it brings me, but I don't like how it's made. I don't like how we have to procure the items that make it. And we're having this crisis of, do we want to keep feeding this beast system? Do we want to keep being cogs in this machine? If this is the results and this is the end game and this is all we get out of it, I don't know. Maybe I'd rather just raise cows cruelty free and grow some tomatoes. Maybe I'd be happier doing that.
I'm down. That's what I've been doing for a while. I'm definitely down.
I'll keep the iPhone 11. I'm fine with that. I'm just the 12. I don't fuck with it after that.
And it came from fear. You know what I'm saying? It came from fear. It came from me. All of this whole process for us started with watching episodes of Preppers. We was watching Preppers, and this dude opens up his storm shelter down there, and he's got 800 pounds of rice and a whole bunch of shit. And we're like, you know what? He's right. Shit's gonna hit the fan, and we're gonna need a lot of food. We need to grow some food. We need to be prepared for Mad Max. That's how the whole thing started. And which goes back to what I was talking about, going through the motions. At least when you're going through the motions, even if you're not properly aligned, at least you're still doing it. And then that process will hopefully have an effect on you. So we came here and initially started trying to grow shit strictly from fear of shit hitting the fan. But then you get out in the garden, you start recognizing the cycles, you start going through you get your hands in the dirt, and it just has an effect on you.
You save a lot of money on produce too.
It changes the way you interact with the work, and it changes your alignment when you think about why you're doing it. It became more beneficial to me to just be in the garden and be present, going through those cycles and processes, than it was about me trying to hedge my bets against some negative version of a possible future. Like that shit'll drive you crazy. But being out here in the garden, like just growing food for the sake of growing food is awesome. So some people are going to start off that way. Some people are going to be doing it totally for the wrong reasons. Some women are totally going to go to yoga just so she can cheat on her husband more efficiently. It's like, I want to be hot, so I'm going to yoga so I can cheat. And maybe it'll change. Maybe she'll go through some kind of yogic metamorphosis. Who knows? But we're at the early stages of it. Like you said, this is starting to, I guess since the time of hippies and all of that, Woodstock, it hasn't been being, spiritual shit hasn't really been openly spoken about on a large scale probably since that time. And from what I've heard of a couple people say that, planetary alignments and shit like that are very, very similar now as they were back then, when that same kind of spirit was bubbling up in humans and people did the war and not being for the war, and everybody
the
kind
government did a great job destroying that hippie movement too.
Oh yeah, man.
And also, time did too. Like people got like watching. I was saying watching. I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. Son said, that we went down to protest the new business building, and the brothers walked in with guns and came out with jobs. And that's the same thing that happens to the hippies. They got tired of being dirty and smelly, and they was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get a job. And once they got a job, the money started coming in. Some of the people who were hippies grew up to be some of the most successful people in business later on.
Baby boomers, man. The boomers.
And then what happened? Yeah. Did they take all that money they earned and pump it back into hippie ideology?
Hell no.
Or did they say, get a job and cut your hair, idiot?
They kept that land.
And that's the long game. There's two kinds of people on the earth. There's people that want to plant a garden, and there's people that want to build a tower. That's the two philosophies. And I think that there is a level of compassion and moral principles that go along with each. There's one that's going to be in balance, and there's ways it's like, look, the only way to keep these conveniences and this good shit that we all love going is we got to get our fucking hands dirty. And if we feel bad about it, we got to find a way to have as many partitions between the slaughterhouse and our plate as possible for the sake of people's willingness to continue. And that's why we'll send the drone. It's way harder when it's like, look, I need your 14-year-old son to get out there with this bronze sword, and he's going to have to hack about 15 times before he gets an arm off, but that's just what it is. And we got no medical technology to save him. But look, it's for the good of the empire. Just get it done. And then eventually it's just some dude pressing buttons on Call of Duty, and it's like, I just bombed a wedding. I bombed a wedding from the sky. I feel nothing because it looks like a video game. Like, we need these partitions as
that shit still fucks with those type of people. They still have issues with that, even when they do it that way.
Not as much.
Not as much, but the people. Not as much, but there are people who do like suffer PTSD from like realizing what they did, because you're not gonna escape when you do it and you kill the wrong people and the news is all over it and you're like, you're the guy that pushed the button, but it still affects you in a way. But you can't escape the mirror. Like, you have to look at it eventually.
Yeah, it's a wild simulation out here, man. It's a wild simulation out here, and I understand. I completely accept the paradoxical nature of it all. Every time you think you know what's going on, or you think you see the idea, the answer to something, there's just as much information or just as much reason to believe something totally on the opposite of that if you look for it. And it's not just like propaganda that people put out there. There's evidence for a lot of shit that don't seem to agree with each other, but it all works. It all works from as above, so below. We talk, like we said, it all works from the top down to the bottom. So from the most observable shit all the way down to quantum physics. This is what's happening. You think you know some shit, and then you put a new lens on your microscope, and you're like, oh, wait, what's that? Or you put a new lens on your telescope, and you're like, hold on, this shit looks different than it used to. So, and the more we advance in technology, the more shit is going to be revealed to us. Whether it's shit that we thought it was or something worse or better, who knows? But as far as we keep advancing, there's going to be more to see.
Everybody's a seeker till they find an answer to something, and then they stop seeking. And that happened in religion. Science, in a lot of ways, has become petrified. It's like we all start out with the thirst for knowledge, and our understanding of things is malleable. But as soon as we get a few markers of the way we think things work, we build entire institutions, entire systems on that. And then eventually we outgrow that, because the one thing about here, that the only thing you can rely on is that it's changing. It's living, it's dying, it's rotating, it's oscillating. And that's what I mean. The suffering that I've experienced in my life is when I think I've reached a plateau. And somehow I always forget that I'm going to get humbled some kind of way. Like I'll have some success, I'll save some money, I'll have a breakthrough with a song, blah, blah, blah. And then when it all falls away and I kind of have to start over, I'm always like baffled by that when I've done it multiple times. And it's because we secretly know that we're not separate, and that we secretly know that we're one thing. But the whole game here is like, oh, I'm over here, you're over there, I got to do this, you got to do that. That's why people fall in love. That's what comedy's about. What is laughter? It's connection. We are all laughing because we agree on a molecular level with something somebody's saying. Yeah. A song brings us together. It's all us wishing we were one thing again, because we secretly know we are. But for us to have the experience we have here, there has to be light and shadow. There has to be contrast for us to learn anything. Otherwise, we would just be everything again, you know? And I think we choose to come here. I came here, I think, this time to learn self-love, because I got all this wisdom, I got all this talent, but I haven't really learned to love myself, and that's been really painful. And all my lessons continually are that thing. Like,
I definitely agree with that.
You gotta love you. It's hard, bro.
I'm never coming back on this planet as a woman.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't sign that contract. Don't sign that contract, bro. No, I totally agree. But I also, you know, like I said, the paradoxical nature of it. We don't want to really, to some level, we don't want to really accept that responsibility of no one knows ideas. It's super boring, especially if your default position is that you always have been everything. You are everything. Everything is you. If that's the foundational disposition, all you're gonna do when you break this veil is look out into space and be like, "Oh, this is where I'm from. I did all of that just to get back here and be like, oh, I lived here for 80 billion years."
It's the fisherman.
Right.
It's
I
that
lived here for 80 billion years.
Same thing.
And I went to ride the roller coaster. You know what I'm saying? I went to ride the human roller coaster. That's what that is. Human life is just an 80, 90, 100-year roller coaster. You put your hands in the air, you scream, oh, shit. You do the loop-de-loop, and then you get off, and you go back to walking around.
Greatest VR game known to man.
Hopefully you got some good head while you were on the ride. You know,
oh, well, shit. Yeah, I'm not coming here without it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Come on, man. You know
gotta
you
get some brain, bro.
You hit the strip club and the prostitutes every now and then. So
yeah,
you
that's all
part
of it.
Yes, sir.
It's like the Willy
part
Wonka
of the
boat.
game.
It's like the Willy Wonka boat. It's all part of it. It's all kind of different things. There's some scary parts. They splash you with some questionable water that kind of tastes funny. Like all of that. It's all part of the ride. But when you get off, as fun and crazy and scary as that ride is, when you get off, you instantly remember, like, oh, yeah, I've been walking around this park for 5 hours. And that roller coaster was...
Let's go back.
That roller coaster was a minute and a half.
Wouldn't it be wild that death is a vacation from that shit? When we die, we're like, let me take a breather, and then we go back in. You know, it's like...
Bro,
giving a... Go ahead.
I've seen this movie. I forgot the name of it, but basically, like, this guy found out what happened when you die, and so basically, it made everybody commit suicide because you get to start over.
Jason Segel, right? Isn't he in that?
I don't remember.
Segel? It's like
you have to show.
He doesn't know the name of any white actor.
Yeah. You gotta show the face. I was like, then I know that nigga.
Is that white man the one that entertained you?
Then I'll know that.
That's it. There you go. That's it.
Yeah,
I love that concept. I love that concept.
And they blame the scientists that made the there it is. It's called the discovery. Everybody blamed the scientists for making a discovery because he was like, yeah, there's life after death. And everybody was like, oh, I'm going to eat my gun tonight. Nobody wanted to hear shit. They was like, I'm out, bro. I'm
but
done
come
with
to
this
find
shit.
out, it's you're starting over every time to make that right decision or whatever. I guess that's what I got out of it.
Yeah, it was a dope movie. Definitely a dope movie. But it's wild, man. Nobody really knows, and like you said, there's something deep down in there that makes us not really want to know. The same way, you go into a movie theater to be wowed by what's happening. You don't go into the movie theater to complain about Vin Diesel driving up the side of a mountain. You go there to cheer and have your heart race and cry and be scared. Like, that's what it's for. You can't go there and criticize, like, well, you can't really do that. Like, you're a dick. Get out. And that would be some spiritual advisors. Like, this is all, like, no, we didn't come here for you to tell us this is all an illusion. We came here so we could be inside the illusion. And even though we're going to complain about it while we're inside of it.
the same thing could be said about being like, we don't have empirical proof that there's not spirits. It's the same. It goes both ways. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like
saying that there
scientists
is
and
no
Oh no,
yeah,
spirit.
there is spirit. If you've seen somebody die in front of you, you could see the ghost leave, but that's a
But
whole
saying
different
that there
thing.
is nothing and saying that you know exactly what there is behind the
true,
front, those two are connected. Saying that we don't have empirical
absolutely,
evidence for it is just our objective three-dimensional reality. And maybe we won't ever have it. That could be part of the ride. Maybe it's not for us to figure out and be like, yo, we created a machine that can see your soul attached to your bones or some shit like that. We may never see that, but it is part of our experience that that's not made available to us. It's not made readily available, so we have to speculate. Some people go in one direction with the atheism and the whole like dark triad of thinking that nothing has any meaning, so I'm just gonna fucking waste away and kill myself. And other people make themselves completely delusional, like, yo, God is out there and he got me this promotion. And then somebody's going to be like, well, what about all the starving kids? I don't know. Maybe they never played to Jesus. That's why they got to starve. So it's like it takes people in both directions. And that's fair. All of it. It's a game you can play. I would never argue with anybody about it. I would never tell anybody on either side to do it differently. I just
same.
Yeah,
wouldn't.
same
You know what I'm
here.
saying? I just have my own alignment with it. And most times, even when, like, there was a time when I was a total debate bro. I was laughing about this last night, where if I would hear somebody say something that was just factually incorrect, whether it was about the Bible or anything like that, I was the guy who would be like, well, actually, and start a whole fucking unraveling of whatever the shit was that you were talking about. Because that was a big part of why I did research and grabbed all this information, because I felt like I was trying to get to a place where I really knew some shit. So when I hear other people talking and they wasn't saying the right shit, I jump all over you. But now I would never do nothing like that. Now I don't give a shit what you talking about and where you can sit right down next to me on a plane and start like, that I'd just be like, cool, awesome idea. I'm not pushing and pulling, no tug of war with nobody about what they believe or how they navigate their experience. All of it's fair. All of it is fair. But I can only.
It's all fair because
Yeah.
when you die, that's the only time you really know, and you can't come back and tell everybody, "Hey, this is what happened." Even though some people say they do, but they're all
Right.
full
Oh
of
yeah.
shit.
And some people, there's out of body experience. I had an out of body experience, and I fucking, the spirits from the other side told me you were gonna meet a woman with red hair. She gonna have like who fucking know? I don't know. I'm not a debunker though. I'm not the guy who's going to be like, well, prove you went to the other side and saw some spirits. I'm going to listen to what you say. It's going to bounce off all of my brain chemistry, everything I've done to get me to this point today. It's going to ricochet around in there, and it's either going to land in a pocket where I'll be like, wow, that sounds plausible, or it's going to fall off the table, and I'm going to forget it 5 minutes later. But that's because of my own brain chemistry.
Yeah, and that's why I stay in the realm of philosophy, too, just because they could absolutely all be full of shit. But I'm just looking at more, well, what did the ancients tell us? There is to some degree, a cohesive message. There's some contradictions, there's some mysteries, there's a degree of mystery to it all. But there is kind of an underlying theme about our origins and our purpose, and that there is a moral component. Like we're biological information in our DNA. We're intellectual information in our brain, and we're also moral information. Like you can have information, but wield it in a fucked up way. Right. You can use your body to protect somebody. You can use your body to harm, right? So intellectual information and biological information, right? You could manipulate the produce because you want to make sure there's more food so that more people can eat. Or you can manipulate the produce because you want people to have to buy your seeds and your seeds alone. So there's always another dimension to it. Like, so I do think that the ancients told us that we are a trinity in our experience. We have a body, we have an intellect, and we have a soul. There's some sort of moral component. Maybe you can't prove it, right? You can't prove that somebody has a soul, but we do interpret and we do have philosophy that guides us from various sources, that there is something there's something about humans that we're aware in ways that we don't know that the animals are, that there is a moral component to the decisions that we make and how we wield information and how we treat each other. And it creates these conflicts and these debates. And I do think that there's something to it. Like and I'm kind of where you're at in that I would never debate it with anybody and say that anybody's wrong. Like, hey, I'm just telling you, ancient people wrote shit down, here's what they said. Maybe they had insight, maybe they didn't. I can't prove it one way or another. But it's definitely interesting to me that they were having this debate that I'm seeing laid out in front of us. But they had no idea the way that technology would advance. They just knew that the state would put pressure on people, that the state would use violence to control, that the state would use technology and convenience to get people to abandon any sense of moral code and just have an allegiance to the temporal. Like, look, I don't give a fuck if it's right or wrong. It's the shit that gets me my food, right? And that's pretty much how human beings, like how Doobie said, have been herded. Like, there's definitely a blueprint that's laid out that this is the way humanity and civilization works. And I think the people that preoccupy themselves with the questions about what's beyond this or what's right or what's wrong, regardless of the tradition that they're looking at to get to that conclusion, are looking around at everything right now and saying, the emperor has no clothes, the nigga's up, none of this seems morally good, and nobody's happy with it. But we're not really sure what the alternative is supposed to look like, and that's what we're feeling out. And so people see stories of motherships, and it's like, okay, maybe we're about to get some insight in what all of this is. Or
Exactly.
maybe it's, so like I enjoy speculating on it, but I would never present myself as like I got it figured out. Like, I just like to read and I'm curious about this shit. You know what I mean? But I think anybody but for some reason people respond better to people that say, look, I got it all figured out and your wife is next in the upper room. People respond to that better. But if you're just like, look, here's what the shit says is written down, here's the concept, here's the parallels to what you're seeing play out in front of you when it comes to politics and power and how people can be manipulated by information in the game that goes on. Like, if you just say like, hey, I'm experiencing just like you, here's what I gained from the ancients, that's not good enough. It's like, but are you 57 trillion years old? Did you write it originally? Are you magical? If not, who gives a fuck?
Right.
You know? But I think
Well, people want certainty, man. People want certainty.
Certainty is not on the menu.
Yeah,
if you're on
no,
planet
not at
Earth,
all.
certainty is not on the menu.
Not at all.
Actually, tell that to everybody else, man, because that's what everybody else is searching for: is certainty and stability.
Actually,
and it's like
actually uncertainty that's being served. The paradox.
Yes,
that's what they're serving. Fresh paradox every night. You, no matter what
3
you
million
order.
flavors.
Yeah, you come here, you order whatever you want. We're gonna bring you whatever we want. It don't matter. It's paradox.
Sauteed paradox and some bok choy, bitch. Deal with it.
That's all you're getting. That's all you're getting, bro. Two things intrinsically connected that you thought were absolutely separate when you walked in, and I'm gonna show you.
But that's the light and dark. That's the light and dark duality thing. That's really ascension. Is Oppenheimer realizing, like, yo, the mystic, the contemplative, is able to hold the two opposing opposites in one hand. And that's what all the Hermetic principles are teaching, from correspondence, as above, so below, polarity, gender. They're all saying the same thing, is that all of these principles are the same thing, just at varying degrees. Hot and cold aren't two separate things. You know what I'm saying? They're the same thing at varying degrees of temperature.
Right.
Men and women aren't two separate things. They're varying degrees. So it's like, that's really what we came here to see. And if you understand what the three dimensions is a dualistic 1-2 that's mirroring. Then there's the third point that's witnessing that. So that's why we're always in the tumbleweeds. We're always floating and oscillating. Like, what is it? Why is it? How is it? That's the very function of being here. We chose to come here to have the veil placed over our eyes and forget so we could remember again. You know, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Not that I know anything, by the way. I don't know anything, but
no, it's good enough for.
I mean that too.
Experience.
That wasn't a joke. I don't know anything. I really don't. But that's what I've learned.
What you know. You know what you know. You know what I'm saying? And everything that you've done in your entire life led you to that conclusion. And I think the best thing we can do with all of this shit, instead of being at each other's throats about it and using it as a stick to hit each other in the head, we have this ability to, especially now with technology, with YouTube, with everything else, social media, to speak our piece, talk about the shit that we formulated in our own heads, and just leave it out here for posterity, for other people to think about. They can listen to it, decide whether it's something worth looking into or something to ball up and throw away. But we don't gotta use it to weaponize it to go against each other. We just submit whatever we're going through, whatever we're experiencing, and I think just taking that alignment with it removes so much of the competitive edge, that nature to be like, yeah, well, you're trying. Because for me to say, this is what I'm experiencing spiritually, doesn't take anything away from anything else anybody's experiencing. But for a long time, that was the case. Just you acting in a way that you want to act could be seen as an affront to the people who have established, a local religion that we all got to follow. So if you burning sage in the backyard instead of praying to the priest in front of the cross, that was reason enough to get you killed. Now it don't have to be like that. Everybody can do what they're doing. You can look and see what people are doing. You can take pieces of what they're doing, add it to your own experiences. You could prune off shit that doesn't serve you anymore. We just at a place where we don't have to follow no particular model. You know what I'm saying? We could fix it. It's a buffet. That's how I see it anyway. It can be, unless you want to play a different game. Unless you want to play the game of absolute, we have the answer, so I don't eat from that side of the buffet. I only eat these 3 things right here. Awesome. I'm not going to be the guy that says, yo, you should really try the sushi. No, if you decided you're only going to eat the vegetables, you're not going to touch the pork, go for it. I might eat some, maybe, but I'm not going to fucking tell you need to. And that, in my opinion, that's progress. Just allowing people to be what they are, experience what they want to experience. I mean, unless they land on unless they land at the Nazi end of the buffet and they're like, well, the conclusions that I've come to said that I need to fucking chop you up. That might be a problem. But other than that, let people do whatever they're doing, because it really doesn't have that much of an effect on you unless you personally attach yourself to it. You have to tie yourself to what they're doing and then be influenced by it. And I'm offended that you read that book or you pray to the West instead of the East. Those are just like really complex competition games that we just have learned to enjoy playing with each other. If anything that needs to go away, I think it's that.
People, and me included, have struggled. It's like no fun when you have to be your source of fun. Like we always want it to be outside of us, and it's just so much easier to place my expectations, and I say I just because it's like I'm not pointing the finger at anyone, but I feel like a lot of us do this, on other people, whether that's my parents or my partner or society or Trump or Biden or whatever. It's just a lot easier to externalize it because it's no fun, man. Like going in and looking at all the ways you're full of shit. And I was, as you were talking, was like, yeah, I want to have more fun. Like, bro, I just literally want to laugh more. Yeah. I want to eat better food. Yeah. I want to ride bikes on the beach. I want to spend time with beautiful women. I want to go on damn van trips with my son. I want to release music. Like, if we focus on the things we want, it's like much better for everybody. It's not about, I'm going to do this thing to change the world. And, oh my God, are you seeing what's going on in Chicago? Oh, did you hear about this? And getting overwhelmed at all these things you legitimately have no control over.
Yeah.
But if we all just woke up one day and was like, I need to be happier. I need to laugh more. I need to quit judging myself and others so much. The world would change overnight. And I think we're on our way towards that. I honestly think, bringing it back to the mothership, whether it's real or not, I believe contact is contingent on us quitting the crazy fucking dualistic pointing fingers at everybody. Not that it's ever just going to go away. There's always going to be contingents of people that are fucking killing each other. Like, I think that's unavoidable. Maybe in 1,000 years it's not. But that's what's most exciting. It's not to see some lizard person or an interdimensional creature. Like, that's going to be amazing. It's going to be the solidarity of like, okay, can we all admit we didn't really know what we were talking about? Can we start from there? Yeah. And then everybody take a deep breath and realize that our material sciences were basically making mud pies. And religion was folklore, talking about things that we bear. Like, come on, guys. Like, nobody knows what the fuck is going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, that's a great place to start. That's a great square one for humanity to start at. And think about what it would take to bring humans to that conclusion, right? Just on a mass scale. Like, you know what? I don't think we know shit. This is part of the premise of the Watchmen. They had to do something so large that it just wiped all the little petty feuds and shit like conflicts. It just wipes it all away. Wipes it all away. I mean, Ozymandias had to drop an alien squid in New York and kill hundreds of thousands of people, but hopefully that don't have to happen. But that was
But because of that threat,
because of
peace.
that threat, they was like, you know what? Let's just put our differences aside. There's something else we need to worry about. So hopefully it won't have to be rooted in fear of self-destruction and shit hitting the fan. You never know. Either way, you never know whether it's good or bad. There's too many variables. You know, a flat tire can save your life, but before you knew it saved your life, you'd be cursing it. A fucking flat tire, motherfucker. And then you change your tire, you get up the road a quarter mile, and you see a semi exploded on the road and shit. Like, that could have been me if I didn't have a flat tire. Now the same flat tire, you bow down and pray to it, and you save it. You take it off the rim and you hang it up in your garage because it saved your life. So there's too many variables to know if any of this shit is good or bad. So we really don't. We just got to see what happens. That's all that's really available to us, is to see what happens. But I got some people up on the screen that I think everybody should take a, if you want, if you're interested in hearing some cool shit, take a listen to these people. There's two guys in particular, Bernardo Kastrup and Donald Hoffman. Both of these people talk about the nature of reality and the nature of reality from something that's these are people who are doing serious mathematical equations and looking at the world differently than fundamental materialists. I mean, we already have like things that break Newtonian physics already available for us to examine in the world right now that we ignore. Particularly the placebo effect. The placebo effect completely destroys Newtonian physics, and we don't talk about it. But these people are doing the work to come to the conclusions, and I think those are two people that you could benefit from listening to, just hearing how they talk about what's going on, the conclusions that they're coming to, what reality possibly is, and the perspective that they have is super interesting. This is something that you could only hear being spoken about, from, like you said, from a guy that smells like patchouli and burns incense, and like people could write it off as woo-woo, 10 years ago. But now, under these premises, under these structures, these aren't people you can write off as woo-woo, and they're talking about the same shit that Vedic mystics was talking about. So I think that's pretty interesting. So if you got some time, definitely tap in. Whoever's listening, definitely tap in with Bernardo Kastrup and Donald Hoffman and just see what they have to say about the nature of reality. I think it's worth a listen.
Incredible shit.
Yeah, amazing, absolutely amazing. Dude's like, it's just consciousness. It's not there's no material, fundamental, physical shit out there. It's just all mind interpreting different waves, different. You got a VR headset on, and that's it. You're basically you're a god with a VR headset pretending to be human. Not exactly in those words, but one could gather that this is where the shit is going. Definitely very, very interesting. But either way, I know we got clipped today, which means we're moving up in the world of YouTube. They cut our stream again for the second time in a row. And not in a row. We did get a good show last week, but 2 times they've taken our stream and cut it. I did put a poll up to see if they thought we were cut by, let me see where the poll is so far. If they thought we were cut by, no, here it is. They thought we were cut because we were talking about Trump, or were we cut because we were talking about the mothership? And I think most people think it was the mother. Oh yeah, 75% of the listeners think that it was mothership talk and not Trump talk that got us cut off.
Take that, Kabbalah. I told you guys.
Yeah, we know who it was. It was maybe it was the aliens themselves. They're like, yo, you saying too much, B. Calm down. It took us 20,000 years to start trickling this information out. Y'all just trying to blow the lid off it like it's fucking Watergate. We can't be doing that shit, bro. You gotta take your time.
Yeah, man. Mothergate.
Yeah, Mothergate. Yeah, man, I appreciate you brothers making time this evening. Of course, always a pleasure to be linking up and talking about this wild ass simulation that we exist in. Absolutely, man.
The niggas up.
The niggas up. We know it's
the best. That's the best name for the episode ever, bro.
Yeah,
that might get flagged.
Oh yeah, it definitely will. If we got flagged for Mothership Talk, we'll definitely get flagged for the niggas up. The knee grifting. Yeah, we're gonna get into it, but yeah, like I said, I think we've done enough heavy lifting for one night. Still the greatest think tank ever assembled, as far as I'm concerned. Still haven't been proven wrong, and we will be accepting some people who want to come link up on the show. So I know Legit's in the comments. I know he's going to be stopping by soon on one of our next midweek episodes. So definitely looking forward to that. We got the homie.
Don't forget those donations.
Oh yeah, we got we got the homie Shredded Wheat tapped in with us, the OG Uncle Shredded Wheat. So I appreciate you stopping by to tap in with us for a little while. And yeah, man, I'm gonna let Dr. Umar, tell everybody what we looking forward to here. Because like he said, the people who position themselves as the geniuses who know everything, those are the ones who will set up the prima nocta visits. They tell your wife to come to the upper room so she can be blessed by the celestial blessing. and those seem to be the ones who get the biggest compounds and the most donations. They got the most guns and the most followers. So, when we just like, oh, I'm just in the middle here trying to figure things out, that doesn't seem to garner a lot of attention. It's a very slow growth period. So, but Dr. Umar knows what's up. He knows what we need. He knows where we are. And I'm going to let him tell it, bro. He says it better than all of us anyway. Where's that? Here he is. Oh, how did they do that? They always mute this thing when I first play it because they don't want us to get what we deserve. And what we deserve is gifts, and more gifts, donations, and more donations. I can't even get them to put the sound on now. They're like, here it is. Oh, wait.
Donations.
The paywall is coming.
Donations.
The paywall is coming.
Donations. Gifts.
This is revolutionary.
The only way, man.
More gifts.
I love it.
Was that a prepaid? He had a prepaid Chili's card.
Red Lobster.
Yeah.
Red Lobster.
Yeah.
The McDonald's of restaurants.
Oh no, dude.
Yeah, he's sitting.
McDonald's of the sea.
Yeah, see McDonald's. That's
Red
Aqua
Lobster.
McDonald's, bro.
It's the only way man can move forward. Just send me gifts, donations.
Yeah, this is how we get the compound. This is how we put this shit into practice. So if you want to see us to succeed, gifts and donations. If you want to see us fail, gifts and donations. That's the best way. It's the best way.
Instead of donations, you could just say white women.
Yeah.
White women. White women.
It's going down, bro. It's going down. But like I said, man, I definitely appreciate y'all. I'm going to wrap up over here and find some cool shit to watch for the night, grab a bite to eat.
Absolutely.
And enjoy the rest of the evening. And I'm sure you fellas are going
Love
to be
y'all,
doing the
man.
same. Yeah, much love. We appreciate you coming
Peace.
in, man. Always dope.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you guys enjoy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely,
Appreciate it.
man. You
Always
guys
a pleasure.
enjoy the
You
rest
always
of the
welcome.
evening.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. We'll talk soon.
Peace.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody,
brother.
for tuning in, too.
Have to be the quote-unquote religion of tomorrow. If it isn't, you're fucked. Totally and absolutely. Metaphysics. If it isn't, you're fucked. Absolutely. Totally and absolutely. Metaphysics. If it isn't, you're fucked. Totally, absolutely. Religion of tomorrow. Religion of tomorrow.